Let me get my webcam on here, guys. Welcome, everybody. My name is Tom Devine. I am with AVPro, as you guys may have known. I'm in the marketing department, but today I'm going to go over a new product, and that new product is our 8K HDMI cables. Oh, sorry, left my phone on. It's not a Tom webinar unless I drop something, right? I mean, so there we go. We got it out of the way right away. So you guys will see on your GoToWebinar control panel that you see on the side here, you'll be able to have a questions area, and you guys can just type your questions in. I can see them as they come in, and then we can just address them right away. And so what we're going to do today is just talk about this new product. This is a product that we just received, and at AVPro, when we get something and we try to get it launched as fast as possible. So we will be shipping these today, and these are 8K HDMI 2.1 cables. So they are going to be able to tackle the entire HDMI 2.1 specification up to 48 gigabits per second. That includes fixed rate let me see, all of the different things, fixed rate link, that's FRL, and then there's variable refresh rate, all these new things that you're going to find with these cables. And so we're going to talk a little bit about these cables. I'm going to show you the website. This isn't going to be a very long training, of course. We're talking about an HDMI cable. Don't want to be insulting your intelligence. You all know what this is. But let's talk about some things that make this cable cool. So first off, I'm going to pull up the website here. We're going to go through some different assets, and then we'll actually look at the box and different things like that. So let me just share my screen with you guys. All right. So now, if you can go here yourself. You just go to bullettraincables.com. This is where you're going to find the Bullet Train website. But if you go to products and we go to 48 gigabits per second cables, this is a new one, because before we had 18 gigabit per second cables. That's HDMI 2.0. That's going to be our 4K cables, our cables that are great cables, but they do have some limitations. Then we did enter our 48 gigabit per second AOC, and we've been selling those, but they're really long. You have to use fiber, and they can be expensive. The best part about this is these are completely 100% passive cables. They're ready to do 48 gigabits per second. It says 8K Ultra HD, and that's true. It can also even do 10K resolutions. One of the cool things is it goes up to 120 frames per second. So that refresh rate is doubled with this type of signaling that we're seeing out of HDMI 2.1. These are ISF certified cables. So what we have done is we've done the research, we've done our due diligence to make sure that these cables are going to be able to not interfere with that signal. And we do that by having a oscilloscope in our factory, and we had just recently upgraded that oscilloscope so we could max out that 48 gigabits per second, measuring the data down to the wavelength to ensure that you're not going to lose bits and bytes when you send that HDMI signal through. So these cables are completely ISF certified. They're ready for any HDR, Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, any of those type of signals you're going to find in the market. If you go to our website, you're going to have a quick description here, but it's going to talk a little bit about what's inside. And you're going to say, well, why are these any different than the cables that you've sold before, your 18 gigabit per second cables? And the difference is what's inside. In order to get that 48 gigabits per second, it is a little bit different of a structured cable. So what we actually do is during 18 gigabits per second, you normally have 3 TMDS lines in a clock. So you have 3 of the copper cables inside, and the TMDS lines, those 3 copper cables, they're taking and sending all the audio video data. And that's where we're getting the audio video data. Everything else is done for control and all the different signals that go through an HDMI pipeline. Well, that clock makes sure that all of that data is coming out at the exact same time. It's saying tick, 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 tick. Make sure that you're sending data on my tick. Well, with HDMI 2.1, the technology is now advanced enough that the sources are able to build that clock, that ticking, into the actual TMDS lines. So what are you going to do with that clock? You're going to actually turn that into an audio video channel as well now. So now we have 4 full channels for delivering audio video, and we can do up to 12 gigabits per second on each one of those channels. So that's how we get to that 48 gigabit per second data rate that allows us to push 8K and 10K signals. But with that higher resolution of 8K and 10K signals, that also brings bada bang, bada boom, larger frame rates, 120 frames per second, 240 frames per second. That you're not going to see that 240 frames per second in everyday scenarios, but there are some serious gamers out there that want that, you know, every single twitch and movement is important to them, and that 240 frames per second is going to be able to deliver that to them. And these cables are able to handle that kind of freight. And so let's talk a little bit of what it does. What does increased frame rate do for someone? Well, if you look at my little black box right here, at 30 frame rate, you know, you get a little bit of, you know, how would you say, you know, it's a little blurry when the movement comes. And now our eyes as viewers are used to those blurry signals, because that's what we see when we watch TV. That's what we see when we see movies. Those are set at 24 frames per second. That's what our brains are, you know, trained to want to see that content. And so when we see it sped up, a lot of times we call it the soap opera effect, or you see differently. It doesn't hit as well for movies and TVs, but for gaming, for sports, you're talking next level stuff that you're going to actually able to see that movement so much more crisp, and it becomes so much more real and vibrant. And then because we are ISF certified, yet we are completely color accurate. Whatever color comes in, we pass it undisputed all the way back to the other end. So let's take a look, you know, specifications. I'll go over these real quick. You guys can see these, but, you know, 48 gigabits per second, you have 10 and 12-bit color spaces, you have VESA resolutions. It's an HDMI cable, so it can do everything HDMI 2.1 can offer. If you look at the entire specification of HDMI 2.1, that's what these cables are able to do. But if we look at the lengths, this is where we get a little bit more interesting. AVPro Edge's bullet train cables have always been a half meter, which we call the jumps, a 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter. With these lengths, we are actually introducing more sizes to fit the integrator's need better. So we actually have, as you can see, a 0.3 meter, so that's a 1 foot, a half meter, a 0.7 meter, that's 2.3 feet, a 1 meter, a 1.5, and then a 2, 3, and 4. Now, because these are all copper, if I take it out of my master pack here, it comes in this nice little bag that's really, really pretty. It's ready for retail. You could hang this on your shelf and it would look good. You can buy them in a master pack, so they're all together. But let's just open this package up and we can see exactly, you know, what we can do with these cables. This is the actual cable. So now I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second so you guys can see the webcam and we can look a little bit closer at this actual cable. So when it comes just like this. This is the 0.7 meter. It has 2 wire ties on both sides. That's going to keep it nice and packaged, make sure that you can't get it bent, that when it travels, it's going to travel safely. But then here's the cable. You know, it's nice. It has a really nice bendable tension to it. You know, if you hold it out flat, it doesn't just stick all the way out. It is definitely very malleable, and it is a great cable. As you can see, it is a little bit thicker than our older, or, you know, I shouldn't say older, but our 18 gigabit per second cables, because it does need to put more, it has to have more, you know, copper in the end. But one of the best things about those 18 gig cables that all of our customers like is that they have serial numbers on each end. So you don't have to pinch your finger, try to wire it through when you have all of these HDMI cables in one place. And that's the same case for this. So as you can see, we have the serial numbers. They're both serialized so that you would be able to find each end. Each serial number is going to be individual and unique to itself. So no matter when you buy or where you buy or which one you have this as the option. Now, let's talk a little bit about how you can order it. You can order it as a single cable, of course. Pricing you can get from your sales rep, or give us a call here. We can definitely help you, or log into your account. But what you have here is the master pack. So you can buy it by separate, or you can buy it by a master pack. Now, this is a nice pack for integrators to grab. They got a cable, they can move around with it, they can throw it around, they can throw it in their truck, and they know that they're going to have it protected. We have this perforated area right here, so you don't have to go digging into what's going to happen. You can always just grab a cable from right here. Okay, I have my cable. Take it out and then use it as you need. It is able to reopen, so that if you're like, oh, now I don't need to use this cable, I can still put it back, no problem. You don't have to tear anything, and then you can, have your handle right back. So it's very, very simple. But this master pack box, all of the sizes come in this master pack box, the same box. And then we check the different sizes. So the quantities are a little different. Check your price. It's going to tell you exactly how many cables are in each one of the master packs. But for our 48 gigabit per second passive cables, our master pack quantities are different than what you've been buying if you've been buying master packs in the past. But they come in a lot nicer box. Your integrators are really going to appreciate that. So now you're saying, okay, cool, you got it all done. We got the nuts and bolts figured out. But I want to talk a little bit about how to sell this product and why this product is important for professional integrators. And the reason is because professional integrators, you want to be giving your customers the best of the best. And the best of the best right now is the Xbox Series X, it's the PlayStation 5, it's all the new 8K TVs, it's all the new 8K AVRs. And if you have yourself a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X and a new 8K TV and an 8K AVR, this is where if you use cables that are not going to be able to meet this type of specification up to a 48 gigabit per second, you might even be able to have the EDID be read okay. It says that it can accept 8K signals. A menu screen comes on at 4K, but when something actually launches into 8K, your signal will drop out. And as an integrator, that's something that you cannot have. We integrators give the best of the best. They give a professional feeling. If people wanted to have problems, they would have just tried to hook it up themselves. But they hire an integrator to have the expertise. And your expertise is telling you that if I have an 8K TV and I have an 8K source, then I need to have an 8K pathway in between. And that's going to happen with bullet train cables. We will definitely be putting out a lot more education when it comes to 8K cables and the different options that you will have as integrators and purchasing through AVPro. We are already working on our 8K matrix switcher. Our 4x2 is in the prototypes. It's been testing. We are going to continue to push 8K further and further and further to give yourself, your integrators, your installers a chance to have the leg up on their competition, delivering future technologies today. So that is the entire infrastructure here. I'll show the website one more time. Please feel free to go to this website, check out all the resources. You can see a cut sheet, a case study. You can have the pictures of the cable heads. You can have pictures of the bagging, and then you also have pictures of how the master packs look and how they work, giving you a nice feeling. You can see all the sizes, and then pricing, just get from your normal pricing avenues. If you guys have any questions, type them in the questions box now. But other than that, that is all I have today. Real quick, easy training, but it's really an exciting training. Make sure that if your integrators are using 8K, then that they are 8K products, 8K peripherals like the Xbox, like the PS5, like the 8K TVs, then make sure that they have that infrastructure that's going to support the signals that they pass through. Looks like no other questions came in, which isn't surprising. We're talking about an HDMI cable. You guys are the real experts here. But I do want to appreciate you tuning in today, and be on the lookout for any the trainings coming out in the future. I do want to say real quick, if you go to avproedge.com, that's not it, avproedge.com, and we go over here to the news, and you go to the newsletter. We have an April 2021 newsletter, and we have all sorts of really cool stuff going on this month, different specials and different things like that. So definitely check it out. It looks like I did have a question coming in here from Kevin. Do you have these cables as right angle adapters? We do not. So these cables are going to be just straight cables. So whatever you use for your right angle adapters, you can continue to use those. I don't know if they would be 8K, but if you wanted us to test, we have all the 8K equipment here. So just what you could do, Kevin, is you could even send us one of the right angles that you were using, or tell us which one you're using, and we can verify that if it does cause problems with 8K. Now, those right ends can sometimes cause problems, so we would want to make sure, especially with 8K, the data is much more touchy. Because you have such more data going through, that right angle could cause a problem, or it could not. So, it would definitely have to be tested. But great question, Kevin. All right, Matthew, these cables look great. Thanks for continuing to make great stuff. Yep, appreciate it, and appreciate you tuning in today, Matthew. All right, if you guys have any other questions, you can just reach me directly, tom@avproglobal.com. Shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you on the next training. Thank you very much.